One Last Kiss is the 9th episode of the 4th season of Full House. This is directed by Zwick, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. It's definitely a pretty decent episode. I feel like Becky was a lot more reasonable than I feel like I would have been at one point, but that is towards the end, so we'll get there in time. As I said, there will be spoilers from now, and it starts off with Stephanie making Comet's birthday cake. I'm struggling to believe that Comet is one. That's absolutely crazy. And Michelle says, birthday cake makes me crazy. Might just be the most relatable thing Michelle has ever said. We then find out that Jesse is actually going to his 10-year high school reunion, and he gets a phone call or a message on his answering machine from a girl. We don't know who this is to begin with, but then we learn that it's a girl called Carrie. She appears later in the episode. She's played by Erika Eleniak, and we learn that this is Jesse's ex-girlfriend. And Jesse tries to get Becky to go to the reunion with him because he's worried how he's going to feel when he sees Carrie. And Becky can't go. She's already made a promise to the girls. So Jesse ends up going by himself. But first, before we get there, we have Comet's birthday party. And this is probably one of the most delightful scenes in any Full House episode, because Danny comes in with Comet, and the room is full of dogs. There are dogs everywhere, and they're wearing little party hats, and it's absolutely adorable. And then Joey comes out with the cake, and they're singing happy birthday. And the dog next to Michelle, this is a dog called Sparky, who's played by a dog called Barkley, is singing along as well, and it's just absolutely adorable. And then Comet blows out the birthday cake, the birthday candle. It's absolutely precious and just one of the most beautiful scenes ever. We then are at the reunion. Really nice set design, very atmospheric. I think they did a great job with it. Jesse is on stage playing a song very briefly, and then Carrie comes in and they end up dancing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, a dance for old time's sake. I don't think that's anything to be concerned about. We then get the flashback. And in general, I don't care for flashbacks, but it was quite brief, so I didn't mind it. And we learned that the reason they ended their relationship, well, technically they didn't, but they decided to put it on hold because Jesse's career with his band was taking off, and Carrie had been offered an opportunity for modelling in Paris. So Jesse tells her, go do your thing, I'll do my thing. When you come back from Paris, we'll pick up where we left off. I think Carrie is being a little bit mentally unstable if she comes back from Paris 10 years later and thinks that she can just pick things up with Jesse where they left off. I feel like that's not of sound mind, that kind of thinking. Has she been clinging on to the thought of Jesse for 10 years? It's not healthy. It really isn't. And Jesse starts to have feelings that he can't quite work out what they are. And we'll then come back to that in a little bit. But we have a missing dog. Joey has walked all of the dogs home, apart from Sparky. They can't find Sparky. It turns out Michelle is actually hiding Sparky because he is a little dog. He is absolutely adorable, and Michelle wants a little dog, not a big dog like Comet. And she's put little bunny ears on him, and he's my favourite. He's my favourite dog. I absolutely love him. And then Carrie turns up. Jesse has just come home. He's trying to talk to Danny, and then Carrie arrives, and Jesse goes to the porch with Carrie, and she kisses him. And he determines in that moment that whatever feelings he had for Carrie, they're no longer there. And he then runs up the stairs to Becky, and he's really excited because in that moment, he realised in that moment that all he wants to do is marry Becky, and he's so overjoyed by this, and that's great. But then he tells Becky, oh, I just met my ex-girlfriend and kissed her. And I'm thinking, how is Becky not flying off the handle? Also, I don't think Jesse worded it correctly because he didn't kiss her. She kissed him. And the kiss wasn't long enough for him to really have kissed her back. It was very brief. So he should have said, she kissed me. And that would have got him off the hook a little bit because he didn't instigate this. But nevertheless, he decided to say, I kissed her. And Becky was very quickly understanding. Now, on the one hand, I think that that's a really healthy attitude to have. She was willing to listen to what Jesse had to say rather than just immediately flying off the handle. but I don't think it's a believable response to the situation. If you're getting married to somebody, if you're choosing your wedding cake with somebody, which is what they were doing in the previous episode, and then you find out that that somebody just kissed their high school sweetheart on the doorstep while you're sitting upstairs, I don't think Becky is responding in a way that is healthy, in fact. I think it's probably healthy in the long run to allow Jessie to talk, but as an initial response, it just seems not believable for me. But as I said, it is admirable that Becky was able to actually take the time to listen to Jessie and actually understand his words. So ultimately, it was the right conclusion for that part of the story, but I don't believe that Becky responded in a way that was very realistic. But that aside, it's a decent episode. For me, the dog party is definitely the highlight. It's absolutely fantastic. Carrie does not seem like a particularly stable character if she's still clinging on to the past after 10 years. Also, do they not have phones in Paris? I know international phone calls are expensive, but are you saying there was no way to communicate with Jessie over the last 10 years? Not a very believable part of the narrative. Becky's response was not very believable. But nevertheless, One Last Kiss is not a bad episode.